All right, so today we are diving into the crazy world of dating.
Oh, yeah.
Um, we're going to be dissecting this Reddit post that has kind of blown up online.
Okay.
It's from this woman who posted on the Am I the A-hole subreddit, the r/Ami overreacting.
Right, yeah.
Basically, she wants to know if she was justified in ghosting this guy after what she says was a truly, cringe first date.
Mm,
And this is fascinating because it's not just about, one bad date.
yeah.
It really gets us thinking about, all these complicated gender dynamics and social cues and,
Uh-huh.
how easily we can, misunderstand each other's intentions.
Right, yeah, totally.
So was this guy, genuinely being misogynistic, or was it just some super awkward attempt at flirting?
Yeah, where's the line? Right.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to try to figure that out.
Love it. Let's get into it.
So what I found really interesting about this post is that right away, this woman is very clear about what she's looking for.
Okay.
She says she's 30 and wants a mature partner. No games,
Mm-hmm.
Then she goes on to describe these two specific moments from the date where she felt just totally disrespected.
Okay, yeah, I mean, those are big red flags right there.
Yeah, it wasn't just small talk. It was these were big moments.
Yeah.
So first he makes this comment about women being bad at navigation.
Oh, no, come on, is that even a thing anymore?
I know, right? And she even mentions in the comments that she's a total map nerd
Uh-huh.
and can read a physical map, better than most people.
Oh, wow, so it's like he totally walked into that one.
Yeah, he did.
What I found even more fascinating was the second incident she talks about.
Okay.
So she mentions winning chess tournaments as a kid.
Wow, impressive.
Right. And he repeatedly asks her what the corner pieces are called.
You mean the rooks?
Yeah, exactly. The rooks.
Like rooks.
Even after she tells him she finds it disrespectful, he keeps pushing it.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, if we connect this back to the bigger picture, both of these incidents, although they seem kind of different, they actually point to a pattern.
Okay, I see it.
Both times he's making these assumptions about her competence based on these totally outdated gender stereotypes.
So it's not just a harmless joke then?
Yeah, that's the tricky part, right?
Right.
A playful job between friends is one thing, but on a first date where the power dynamic is already a little delicate,
Yeah,
these kind of comments can feel really loaded.
for sure.
He might have thought he was flirting, but instead he ends up undermining her expertise in a way that plays into those tired stereotypes about women.
Totally. And, this whole thing with the backhanded compliments or whatever he thinks he's doing,
Yeah.
it kind of reminds me of this concept called negging. Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah, negging. That's a fascinating one.
So could that be what's going on here?
Well, negging is interesting because it's often disguised as flirting,
Uh-huh.
but it's actually a manipulation tactic.
Oh, what?
The idea is to knock someone down a peg to make them seek your approval.
Interesting.
So in this case, maybe he felt threatened by her chess history
Okay,
and wanted to regain some control.
that makes sense.
But then it makes you wonder, right? Is every attempt to playfully tease or challenge someone automatically negging?
Right.
Where do we draw the line?
Now, that is the million-dollar question.
It really is. And what's fascinating here is the woman's response,
Okay.
or should I say lack of response.
What do you mean?
Well, after the date, she ghosts him.
Oh, she ghosts him.
And that's where the second wave of debate kicks in.
Yeah, because the comment section is like a total war zone.
I bet.
With some people saying ghosting was totally justified and others saying she owed him an explanation.
It's interesting because research actually shows that ghosting can trigger similar feelings of rejection as physical pain.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's like a primal response.
Huh.
But then other studies suggest that in situations involving safety concerns, swift disengagement with minimal contact is often the safest course of action.
So it's like a real ethical dilemma.
It really is, especially in the dating world.
So how do we apply that to this situation?
Right.
On the one hand, she clearly felt disrespected,
Yeah,
but could a conversation have been more helpful in the long run?
maybe. But, we also have to remember that she doesn't owe him anything, especially after one bad date.
Right.
It comes down to personal boundaries.
And maybe she didn't feel safe enough for a confrontation.
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
This raises an important question about the emotional labor involved in explaining to someone why their behavior is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Especially when you're already feeling hurt and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really her responsibility to educate him on basic respect?
That's a good point.
So we've got these layered dynamics, right?
Yeah.
Potential misogyny, maybe some negging, and then the ghosting debate.
It's a lot.
It is, what do the Reddit commenters have to say about all of this?
Well, they are all over the place, honestly.
Oh, I bet.
It's like a crash course in relationship psychology 101.
Aha, love it.
Some are all aboard the misogyny train, calling him out for blatant sexism.
Uh-huh.
Others think he's just immature and insecure.
Okay.
And then a few even think he was genuinely trying to flirt, albeit very badly.
Oh, wow. So a full spectrum of opinions.
Yeah, so let's unpack those different perspectives and see what we can learn from them.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're back, and we're going to dig a little deeper into this Reddit dating drama
Okay.
and like really explore those different reactions we saw in the comments. So it's like everyone's bringing their own dating baggage and experiences, you know?
Absolutely. And that's what makes this so fascinating, right? It's like a
Yeah.
social experiment in decoding intentions.
I like that as social experiment.
Like, take those commenters who see this guy as like a classic misogynist.
Mm,
Their experiences might make them hyper aware of those subtle ways sexism can creep into like everyday interactions.
totally. They're picking up on those red flags loud and clear.
Yeah,
But then you've got those who think he's just immature and insecure.
right.
So what's the take?
Well, they might be focusing on his like awkward attempts to connect.
Okay.
Maybe seeing a bit of themselves in his fumbling.
Yeah.
They're not excusing his behavior, but they're emphasizing his lack of self-awareness rather than outright malice.
Okay. I could see that.
Yeah.
But what about those who think he was actually trying to flirt just badly?
Hmm.
I mean, some guys really do think those cheesy pickup artist tactics work.
It's possible he's stuck in that outdated mindset where putting a woman down is seen as a way to get her attention.
Yeah,
It's sad, really.
it is.
But it highlights how social norms around dating are constantly evolving, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
What was considered acceptable flirting a few decades ago is now seen as cringeworthy and disrespectful.
Yeah, and this whole situation really highlights the gray areas of communication.
Uh-huh.
Like, how can we be sure our intentions are coming across clearly, especially when we're just getting to know someone?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Huh.
We're all reading between the lines, interpreting tone, body language, context.
Mhm.
And our own biases and past experiences can influence how we decode those signals.
Right.
What might seem playful to one person could
Yeah.
feel like a personal attack to another.
So how do we navigate that?
Yeah.
Do we need to, like, walk on eggshells and overanalyze every word?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
but it does emphasize the importance of self-awareness and empathy.
Okay.
We need to be mindful of how our words might be received, even if we don't intend any harm.
Right.
It's about taking a moment to consider the other person's perspective
Hmm.
and adjusting our approach accordingly.
And being open to feedback.
Yes,
If someone tells us we've crossed a line, we need to listen
exactly.
and take that seriously, not get defensive.
It's about creating a space where open communication is possible.
Hmm.
And if someone isn't willing to engage in that kind of dialogue, well, that's a red flag in itself.
That's true.
So going back to the woman's decision to ghost,
Yeah.
some people are arguing that even if his behavior was off, she should have communicated her feelings directly,
Right.
which is like the ideal scenario, right?
Right.
A clear, honest conversation where she explains why his behavior was unacceptable.
Yeah,
It could have been a learning opportunity for him.
for sure.
But we also have to acknowledge that confronting someone, especially someone you barely know,
Yeah.
can feel emotionally risky.
Oh, totally. Especially if you're worried about how they'll react.
Right.
What if he gets angry or defensive?
Yeah,
Suddenly, a simple conversation turns into a confrontation.
exactly. That's why it's so important to prioritize your own safety and comfort. You're
Mhm.
not obligated to put yourself in a potentially volatile situation just to teach someone a lesson.
So sometimes ghosting is the safest option.
It can be, especially if you're sensing red flags or feeling unsafe.
Okay.
It's about setting those personal boundaries and protecting your own well-being.
Right.
You don't owe anyone an explanation if your gut is screaming at you to get out of there.
That makes sense. But let's flip the script for a moment
Okay.
and put ourselves in the guy's shoes.
All right.
Let's say he genuinely doesn't understand why the woman ghosted him.
Mm-hmm.
What can he do to figure things out and learn from this experience?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
First, he needs to resist the urge to get defensive or blame the woman.
Okay.
He needs to take a step back and honestly reflect on his behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Did he make any assumptions about her?
Right.
Did he say anything that could have been perceived as disrespectful or demeaning?
And maybe ask for feedback from trusted friends,
Yeah,
especially female friends, who can offer a different perspective on his actions.
that's a smart move.
Right.
Sometimes we need an outside perspective to help us see our blind spots.
Totally.
And most importantly, he needs to be willing to listen and learn.
Yes.
This isn't about being right or wrong. It's about growing and becoming a better version of himself.
And recognizing that even if his intentions were good,
Uh-huh.
the impact of his actions was hurtful.
Yeah,
That's a tough pill to swallow,
it is.
but it's a crucial step in becoming more self-aware and empathetic.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our words and actions have consequences, even if those consequences were intended.
Okay, so we've dissected the different perspectives on this dating disaster,
Ralph.
from misogyny to ghosting and everything in between.
Yeah,
But what does it all mean?
right.
What are the key takeaways for our listeners who might be navigating similar situations in their own lives?
That's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into this whole Reddit dating drama.
Yes, we are.
And I'm like really curious, what are the biggest lessons we can take away from all this?
Yeah,
It's like a masterclass and, all those subtle dynamics that can like make or break a first date.
it really is.
So what do you think are the most important takeaways?
Hmm. I think one of the most important takeaways is that dating, especially in the digital age,
Mm-hmm.
requires like a whole new level of self-awareness.
Yeah,
It's not enough to just have good intentions.
right.
We need to be mindful of how our words and actions might land on the other person,
Yeah,
especially someone we're just getting to know.
right. Because what might seem like a harmless joke or like a playful tease to one person
Right.
could be totally off-putting or even offensive to someone else.
Exactly. And we've all got our own baggage,
Yeah,
our own experiences that shape how we perceive things.
totally. It's like we're all coming to the table with our own like secret decoder rings,
Yeah.
trying to decipher the meaning behind every word and gesture.
It's true, and that's where empathy comes in. It's about trying to see the world from the other person's perspective, even if we don't fully understand or agree with it.
And that takes practice, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like, how do we get better at reading those subtle social cues and like adjusting our behavior accordingly?
Well, first we need to be willing to listen,
Okay.
really listen, not
Mm-hmm.
just waiting for our turn to speak,
Right.
but actually trying to understand the other person's point of view
Yeah.
and being open to feedback, even if it's uncomfortable.
Mm.
If someone tells us we've crossed a line, we need to take that seriously.
Don't just brush it off or get defensive.
Right. It's about acknowledging that we all make mistakes and being willing to learn from them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means taking a step back and examining our own beliefs and biases,
Okay.
especially around gender roles and dating expectations.
So self-awareness, empathy, open communication.
Yes,
Those are all great qualities to cultivate.
absolutely.
But what about those moments when we're just not feeling it?
Yeah.
Like we've tried to connect, but the chemistry isn't there,
Uh,
or the other person is giving off major red flags.
right.
How do we gracefully exit the situation?
This is where setting boundaries becomes crucial.
Okay.
And it's a skill that takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's about learning to prioritize our own needs and comfort levels,
Yeah.
even if it means disappointing someone else.
So if we're feeling pressured or uncomfortable, it's okay to say no,
Yeah.
to end a date early, or to simply not pursue a second date.
Absolutely. And remember, you don't owe anyone an elaborate explanation.
Yeah.
A simple, I'm not feeling a connection or I need to head out is perfectly sufficient.
Yep.
You don't have to justify your feelings or actions.
And if the other person gets pushy or disrespectful,
Right.
that's an even bigger sign to disengage.
Absolutely.
We have the right to feel safe and respected both online and offline.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose who we spend our time with and how we allow ourselves to be treated.
Mhm.
And sometimes that means walking away even if it feels awkward or uncomfortable.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From dissecting those awkward first date moments to navigating the nuances of ghosting and setting boundaries.
Yeah.
It's like this Reddit post has given us a glimpse into the complex and ever-evolving world of modern dating.
It really has.
And hopefully it sparks some important conversations about respect, communication, and self-awareness.
I hope so.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it all comes down to.
It really is.
So if you're out there navigating the dating world, remember to be kind to yourself and to others.
Yes.
Listen to your gut, set those boundaries, and don't be afraid to walk away from any situation that feels off.
And if you're looking for more insightful conversations about relationships, personal growth, and navigating the complexities of modern life,
Yes.
be sure to subscribe to Voices of the Soul wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to check out Shauna Polidge's YouTube channel for even more thought-provoking content.
Yes.
We love connecting with you all and hearing your perspective.
Until next time, stay curious, stay mindful, and keep those conversations flowing.